The death zone sounds like the complete opposite of a place you'd want to enter. An area where oxygen is so scarce, you start to suffocate even as your lungs take in air. An area where temperatures are so severe that frostbite and hypothermia can become deadly in under 30 minutes. Entering the death zone may sound like suicide, but for the climbers attempting to summit Mount Everest, it is a necessary step. Mount Everest attracts hundreds of eager climbers every year. These daredevils, adrenaline junkies, and intense goal seekers are all striving for the same thing: to stand at the top of the world. I've always been fascinated with the connection between extreme sports and nature. I enjoy watching athletes surf the biggest waves, snowboard the steepest terrain, or climb up the world's tallest mountains. There's both danger and beauty in nature as you watch someone walk the fine line between conquering and being conquered. Mount Everest literally stands above the rest as the pinnacle of surmounting nature. To truly understand the breathtaking achievement of climbing Mount Everest, it is important to understand the mountain itself, how a climber makes his ascent, and the dangers that lie ahead. First, let's explore the mountain itself. The location, topography, climate, and obviously the size of Mount Everest all play a part in the complications of the climb. Mount Everest stands at an impressive height of 29,029 feet above sea level. The peak is higher than the maximum altitude a helicopter can fly and located just below the cruising altitude of most airplanes. Mount Everest is a part of the Great Himalayan mountain range located in southern Asia. The mountain is perched on the border between Nepal and the Tibet region of China. The mountain is covered with massive glaciers and layers of snow that are constantly moving and changing the landscape. Stefan Venable stated in his 2023 article published on Britannica, "The climate of Everest is always hostile to living things. The warmest average daytime temperature is only about -2 degrees Fahrenheit. And in January, the coldest month, summit temperatures average -33 degrees Fahrenheit and can drop as low as -76 degrees Fahrenheit. To make things even worse, the mountain is bombarded with year-round winds that can reach speeds of over 100 miles an hour. The unpredictability of Mount Everest is what makes preparing for the climb so important. Climbing Mount Everest is no quick trip and requires lots of money and training. Alpine Ascents International exclaimed in their 2019 article, "In addition to solid alpine living, snow, and ice climbing skills, you need significant strength endurance, high altitude tolerance, and strong cardiovascular conditioning." Climbers spend years preparing their minds and bodies to conquer the mountain. Climbers should also prepare their bank accounts for the cost of the expedition. Stephanie Stevens said in her 2022 article published on the Medium, "Taking a trek up Everest in 2022 will cost anywhere from $30,000 to $160,000. This high price includes transportation, food, gear, equipment, government permits necessary to climb, and the assistance of Sherpas. Tibetan mountaineers, known as Sherpas, are attributed with helping almost all of the 60,000 successful summiters. Sherpas are hired as guides to help climbers navigate the mountain, carry extra oxygen and equipment, and make crucial decisions related to safety. The journey starts with a 10-day hike to Everest Base Camp located on the south side of the mountain in the Nepal region. Everest climbing season only takes place in the month of May when the winds die down between the summer monsoons and the winter storms. Climbers spend days or even weeks at base camp acclimatizing and waiting for the optimal weather window to open. There are 4 other camps set up along the route from the base camp to the summit. Climbers use trekking poles, ice axes, and special shoes that provide traction on ice called crampons. Harnesses and fixed ropes are also used to mitigate the risk of climbers falling to their deaths. The Khumbu Icefall is the first major obstacle along the route. This large glacier is full of crevasses that climbers scale up and over using ropes and ladders. Once climbers are past the icefall, it is a treacherous 2-mile vertical climb across ice, snow, and rock. Camp 4 is located at 26,000 feet above sea level and is the last stop before climbers make their summit attempts. 26,000 feet also marks the start of the death zone. At this altitude, oxygen becomes so low that life cannot be sustained for long periods of time. Climbers rely on oxygen bottles and respirators to survive the death zone. And at 200 feet below the summit, climbers encounter what is known as the Hillary Step. This 40-foot vertical rock face is the final obstacle before climbers are at the top of the world. The views from up there may be breathtaking, but the dangers to get there have ruined many climbers' dreams. Everest has life-threatening dangers at every turn. Avalanches are a constant worry that sweep everything and everyone in their path. Glaciers are another big concern because of falling ice and the crevasses. Crevasses are deep, narrow cracks that can be anywhere from 40 feet to over 100 feet deep. The extreme weather is another constant worry. Sudden weather changes can leave climbers stranded in high winds or blizzards. Exposure to these elements can lead to snow blindness, frostbite, and hypothermia. Oxygen deprivation and hypoxia can quickly affect mountaineers in the death zone. It can lead to confusion, fatigue, hallucinations, and increases the chances of heart attacks. Conserving oxygen and energy in the death zone is so crucial that climbers simply cannot help anyone but themselves. Shauna Berkey remarked in a 2022 article published on Business Insider, "Your body is breaking down and essentially dying. It becomes a race against the clock." There are over 200 bodies frozen to the mountain, a reminder for the survivors of what can go wrong and what can happen. Their bodies are timelessly preserved because it is too dangerous or costly to move them down from the mountain. Over-commercialization of the mountain has further complicated the climb. Each year, more and more people flock to the mountain, and long lines tend to form as climbers converge on tricky spots or get stuck behind inexperienced climbers. This increases every single risk because climbers are spending more and more time on the mountain and can be held up for hours in the dangerous conditions. With a long list of dangers, climbing at Everest is still a risk people are willing to take. Only those that have attempted or summited the mountain will understand what the accomplishment truly means. The physical aspects of the mountain, the preparation for the climb, the ascent, and the many risks involved have made Mount Everest an allure like no other. Nature is a powerful force. It has the power to destroy and shows just how small we really are, but it also has the ability to blissfully influence us. Climbing Mount Everest was once an impossible task, and life throws dangers at everyone, but the impossible can be conquered with strong will and determination.